Okay, we can go ahead and get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys are doing good and feeling well. Welcome to Creator Tea Talk, where we spill the tea on all things regarding the creator economy. I am Jade Powell. I am your hostess, spilling the tea from Atlanta, Georgia, down south represent. And for those that don't know me, I am a former social strategist turned content creator and content marketer. So, Creator Tea Talk is really a space for creators and marketers slash brands to have real conversations about what impacts our work and just learn how we can work better together. Um, and today is actually a continuation of an episode that we had a couple of weeks ago. So, the Tea on the Black Creator Economy, Part One. And today's episode is part two. And being that it is Black History Month, I really wanted to focus the conversation on Black creators and Black creativity. So, that said, I want to pass the mic to my panel, who is Black as fuck. We love to see it. And I'm excited to have Christa, Gabby, Lloyd, Shanelle, and Tiffany joining me today. So, panelists, I'm going to pass the mic over to you so you can introduce yourselves, and then we'll be able to get the conversation started. Please tell the people who you are, where you are, and what you do. And I will start with Christa.
Hey everyone, I am very excited to be a part of this panel. Hopefully, we can share some good and helpful insights with you guys, and also I can get some for myself because, child, this is a learning session for me as well. But I am Christa Eduafo. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York, and I am a social content strategist at Refinery 29 Unbothered, as well as a content creator in my own right. I will pass it to my girl Chanel, who's one of my internet friends that I've never met in real life.
Hey, girl, hey. Jay, thank you so much for having me. As Krista mentioned, my name is Chanel Janae. I am calling in from Los Angeles. Actually, I just recently moved out here about a week ago, word to Bobby Schmurder. Um, and I'm an entertainment writer. I love all things Black TV, film, music, celebrities, pop culture, you name it. I'm probably on the internet way too much, on Twitter specifically way too much. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I will pass it to Lloyd.
Hey everyone, I'm Lloyd. I'm a podcast manager and I create content for brands in the podcast space. I'm calling in from Washington, D.C., and I'm so excited to be doing this. I just feel like this creator journey can feel very lonely. So I'm excited not just to be here, not just to learn, but also just to connect and meet some new people. I will pass it over to Tiffany.
Thank you. My name is Tiffany Hardin. I wanted to be known that I did make the recommendation that we start this off with a Shibuya roll call, but I don't know. I think I was denied. But I'm calling in from Nashville, Tennessee. I run and founder CEO of Guild Creative Group. We work with brands on influencer campaigns. And I'm launching a startup called Represent that supports creator ops this fall. And been in this thing since, ODB and Mariah were babies and pacifiers. It's been a long time. With that said, I'm going to pass it over to.
Hey y'all, happy to be here. My name is Gabby Beckford, and today I'm calling in from Washington State, Seattle, but shout out to the DMV because I went to VCU and lived in the DMV for a while. I am a content creator, but to say that doesn't really summarize the things that I do. I'm a marketing consultant. I have a grant that's coming out this week. If y'all like to travel, definitely check that out because I'm all about making travel accessible and really helping people live up to their maximum potential in life through travel. So I'm super excited for this conversation and to meet all of these other star-studded co-panelists. Like, this is gonna be a great conversation.
Yay, I'm so excited. I'm excited to have you all. So thank you all for introducing yourself. So yeah, I don't want to delay this too any further. So I actually want to kick off with a question that I asked the panel in the last episode, part one. And the question is, if you could describe Black content or Black creativity, what would it be, or how would you describe it?
I would say limitless. I I recently saw that even the Super Bowl halftime show was inspired by what In Living Color did many years ago. And after they basically did a show on Fox that told people when to go back to see the Super Bowl, that is when CBS started getting more entertaining performers instead of like the marching bands that that they had prior. So when I think of Black talent, I think of limitless potential and an opportunity to close the wealth gap. That's what I think of.
I would say when I think of Black talent, I just think of the word magnificent. It is innovative, it is intersectional, it is the blueprint. And I just feel like I personally just find remnants of Black talent all over the world and like every piece of art and experience that I have in life. I just see like, okay, someone who knew something has been here before. Like you just see it everywhere.
I would say Black creativity and Black artistry is inventive. I feel like we as Black people have this special sauce about us and this special just intuitiveness and ingenuity about us that can take something so simple as, since we're talking about it, the Super Bowl, and turn it up 5 billion notches. We can take something as simple as the peanut and find 500 different ways to use it. So I definitely think inventive, original, because like Abby said, we are the blueprint. I think those are definitely words that come to mind for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say authentic. I just love that we never have to code switch or mold into anything different. We do a lot of amazing things, and that's solely just like us being ourselves, and I love that.
I also was going to say original. I think Black creators truly are the pioneers in so many of these spaces. It's so impressive that we're able to do this across subjects, across industries, and we have it. We have it like that. So that's what I'll use. Original.
I love that. And you guys used a lot of great adjectives to describe Black creativity, which, like, I feel all of them are very accurate to represent Black people because, we do got the special sauce. It just is what it is. And Tiffany, I kind of want to go back to something you had mentioned, which is like a great transition into my next question. So we obviously know that the Fenty Bowl just aired, and we saw Rihanna return to the stage after years of her hiatus. And surprisingly, that was even controversial, not even because of her pregnancy announcement, but just because some people felt that the performance was lackluster or she should have did a bit more. However, a lot of fans are kind of protecting her and kind of advocating for her, creative space and her ability to just take time to focus on the things that she wants to. Um, and in this space, as Black creators, I oftentimes see that we talk a lot about burnout or creative block and what that looks like and how we should be focusing on rest. So I guess my question for you all is there anything that you feel that Black creators can learn from Rihanna?
I would definitely say one of the main things that we could learn is to not operate by anyone else's timeline but our own. I know there's a lot of pressure to like achieve this thing, to do this thing first, to hurry up and get the content out there, hurry up, and make that TikTok, make that reel. But I think what Rihanna has shown us is that even if we do take time off to maybe pivot somewhat or to just recenter and refocus, there will still be an audience waiting for us when we return. And I think that's something that we sometimes as Black creators don't really embrace or we remember all the time. And I think that's something that we should definitely keep top of mind.
I would agree with that. I would think, with Rihanna in particular, I thought the show was great. Like, and I had no expectations that she should dance super hard or that she should be, you know, the goal of the show is to be entertained, and that I was, and I believe that when we think about our own work, creator or not, um, there is an aspect to how you go about your work. I think one thing we don't really talk about enough of is, are you overwhelmed because you waited to the last minute? Are you overwhelmed because you actually took on more than you should have? Are you a part of the creation of your own burnout? And what does wellness look like in your life? Related to your work, just period. I think that, as someone who has managed wellness influencers and have seen, us be on the hook for creating something in a timeline, and the pressure is on, there's some aspects of that. And, to be devil's advocate, there's some aspects of that that's like just plain old, good old accountability and responsibility. And then there are aspects of that that are like, you know what? I'm going to have to choose me and say no. The check can look good. The opportunity can look great. It could even be a scenario where you've been wanting to work with that brand and everybody around you wants you to do it. But if you don't have the wherewithal to say no for your own well-being, then, you might want to think about, what are the roots of that, and lean into that a bit more. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the sentiment Tiffany just shared. I think that's something I am working on in my own personal and professional life. Kind of this question of, just because I can, does that mean I should? And just kind of exploring the ways that, like, my skill set and the things I know how to do um, are extensive at this point in my career, which I love, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to lean into every single piece of it. So with Rihanna, for example, she has Fenty beauty and Fenty fashion, and she now has Fenty skin, and she trademarked Fenty kids or whatever. Like, she clearly is leaning into a different skill set of hers that's providing her energy, that's like energizing her, something that she's passionate about. So I think we can learn from her in that, even though everyone is telling her we want more music, she is saying, okay, well, you're going to get this skincare brand because that's what I want to do. Another example is that gorgeous Black beauty influencer, beauty creator, Whitney, I think her last name is pronounced Maduke, who went viral with the like perfect skin match on the Givenchy foundation a few weeks ago, and everyone was kind of hollering for her to partner with Givenchy, or actually hollering for Givenchy to partner with her. She recently released a video where she said that they reached out to her, they talked about a potential partnership, but it just didn't align with her values, and she ended up passing on it. I think that kind of discernment is really important for Black creators to maintain, even though sometimes it feels like we have to grab at that opportunity because maybe we're not getting as many as some of our peers of other races. I think that discernment will allow for success that feels fulfilling as well as like tangibly fulfilling.
I think that there have been such gems dropped by each of the ladies so far, and I would totally agree that the one thing that I think a lot of, or all of us, can learn from Rihanna in this instance is that you can't make everybody happy all the time. Like, no matter what you do, you could overextend yourself, do double, triple backflips. She could have been dancing all over that stage and someone would have had something negative to say, or like that it wasn't enough, you know? So I think that we have to prioritize ourselves and, what means longevity for us, and what means joy for us. And then just at the end of the day, like, release it, because everyone's talking about Rihanna right now, but in 2 months it'll be something else. And so in 2 months, she still has to live with herself and the repercussions of like what that would have meant for her family and her child and like her mental health and her business. And like, you continue on with you and your empire and like your legacy, even when these, I don't know, viral moments come and go. So it really has to be, I think, for all of us, about the long game of yeah, what is sustainable and what is longevity for us, in our joy. Because yeah, no one's going to be happy all the time. Like, we have to release ourselves from the shackle of trying to be perfect.
That's such a great answer, and I'm gonna piggyback off of that. your answer, Gabby, because I just feel like, I was very just kind of like caught off guard to hear that there were people that did not like the performance. And the more I kept talking to them, the more I just realized that, like, I don't think there was a performance she could have done that they would have liked. They had, I think, already decided
That
they're not
part.
going to like this performance, right? So it's like,
Team.
for me, I'm just in this phase where I'm still like, I'm relatively new to being like a content creator. I've only been creating content for like about a year online, and so I'm still in this weird phase where I'm learning just to love it for myself. And so sometimes when content doesn't perform well, or when brands don't react to it the way that I hope they do, I have to remind myself that, you know what, like, I'm still just searching for my tribe, and there's a group of people out there that are going to love exactly what I do. I'm just still looking for those people. And that was the thing I like had to remind myself the more I just kept hearing this feedback on Rihanna's performance.
Love that. One thing I actually want to go back to, that Krista mentioned, is that oftentimes, creators feel like we kind of have to go for every opportunity because we don't always feel like we'll have access to other opportunities, especially when they're paid. And then Tiffany mentioned early as well, during my first question, that Black creativity is an opportunity to close the wealth gap. And I really love that, because there was a study in 2021 where they reported that the pay gap between Black and white content creators was found to be 35%, which, that's not shocking for those of us that work in this space. But they additionally reported that 59% of Black influencers said that posting about race negatively impacted them financially. So my question is, for you all, is that for creators that really want to work in this space and have access to the opportunities that they can, when they're working with brands, how can brands, social media platforms, or even other creators kind of help eliminate the gap?
I can jump in. I've worked on both the brand side of the content creation space, and I'm also, like I mentioned, a content creator myself. Ooh, let me turn that G chat off. And so I can say from a brand perspective that the pay transparency could be a lot better. It's something that I make an effort to do on my end, and the little bit I can do. But I used to work with a lot of Black creators at another brand that I worked for a few years ago, that would undersell themselves, and I would let them know that we actually had more in the budget for them. I know that's not necessarily realistic to expect every brand to do, because the bottom line is the bottom line and you're always trying to save money. But I think there's something like ethically there about making sure you are not undercutting Black or brown or any creator, female creators, male creators, in a way that isn't right. And I think that that is more than possible. Like, we are more than capable of doing that as brands. So that's where I think, because unfortunately, like, these creators, we don't know what we don't know. Even me as a creator, I still don't really know. Even though I worked on the brand side, I still don't know what brands have, what they're offering. So it's like, I could ask for something, and try my best, but these brands have to be more transparent.
I would love to continue this because this has been my work for a very long time, working on the talent management side of things, and also working on the brand side of things, working on their behalf to secure talent, and managing a budget. And I think that negotiation and the power of negotiation is really real. And you have to, if you're a content creator, you have to, I hate the phrase like know your worth, because like that's like empty words to me. But I do think that you have to understand the power of negotiation, and understand if a brand is interested in you, what you can do to articulate your value. That, and by the way, that's for any and everything, regardless of if it's a brand negotiation or not. So there have been scenarios where I've negotiated deals on behalf of talent in my past, where we were prepared to say no and to pass, and it wasn't a threat. It was like, then this doesn't work, But when a brand would tell me what their budget was, there's this rule of negotiation: whoever says the number first loses. But when the brand did tell me what their number was, and if I didn't like it, I would ask, like, is this the best you can do? Because this is what we normally do. This is our normal rate. Is this the best you can do? Can you meet me halfway? Can you, you have the agency to choose what you want. And or if you are saying, you know what, I can work with that number, but this is what that means to me. You're not going to get everything you asked for. Like I believe that negotiation is very, very, very powerful. I do believe that brands, when you and let's actually be really real. Like, we say brands, but what we're also talking about is who are the people that are in the seat, and what's their motivation? What are they motivated by? Because listen, the brand is the brand, but I specifically am talking to Sally Sue, who is a 26-year-old person that is trying to get 6 influencers to do X, Y, and Z to get to some KPI level. And once I understand what her needs are, I can really negotiate, because it's not just like the blanket brand. It's also, what does this person want? What is going to make them successful? And what do I want out of the deal? Because there are some deals that don't have any money, but are a good look. And then you graduate from the look to the dollars to the everything else. So like, you have to be really clear on what you want. And I mean, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but this is something that I care passionately about, because I do believe when we are super clear on articulating our value and who we're talking to and our audience in that, and if you're not represented by somebody, especially if you're not being represented by somebody, how you deliver that information, like, that could be the difference between, getting what you get and don't say shit, and, upping the ante and upselling, So, just being really clear about the need, the desire. And then, yeah, to be honest with you, it's called the creator economy because it's not just about the creators. Brands are a part of this too. So we have a reciprocal relationship. Agencies are a part of this. We have a reciprocal relationship. Representation is a part of this. So we're all in this thing together. How do we play? Well, I'm off my soapbox.
The only thing I wanted to quickly touch on is a latter point that Tiffany made, and it's the power of having someone in those positions that can advocate for you. I think that's extremely important. And like she said, it's not going to be present at every brand that we work for. Like, you may go into a situation where, because you don't know and because you're not aware of, like she said, what brands actually have to offer, you may lowball yourself. But then if you have a person that's in a position that's like, well, actually, I know our budget and I know what we can actually give you, so I'm going to say that you're asking for this, or I'm going to approach them with this offer instead, because you obviously are not properly monetizing and like articulating, like she said, your worth with the value that it really needs. So it's definitely helpful for people to be in those positions where they can speak to these brands on your behalf and really push for you. That actually just happened to me not too long ago with a certain situation. I had a person that I had an online relationship with. We took that offline and started communicating, and then an opportunity came and I gave them a certain number and they were like, girl, no, like, look at what we're asking you to do. Look at your impact. And we're going to ask for this. Okay. We'll circle back. And I just thought that was amazing, because I was like, wow, like I thought I had properly assessed, my reach, my impact, but in the eyes of, this advocate who could see something in me that I guess I didn't see, they were able to, like Tiffany said, up the ante a little bit and kind of make it a equal playing field. So I think having people in those spaces that look like us, represent us, respect what we bring to the table is equally as important too.
I love that. Those are such great answers. I feel like for me, there's two things that have kind of helped. I think the first is like in the first 6 months of the year, I kind of felt like I was like heavily dependent on brand deals, and I kind of felt like I was just going for everything. And so I've now had to rethink like how I make my revenue so that I even feel like I have enough leverage to like say like, yo, I'm negotiating this or I'm pushing back if it's not a good fit, kind of like Tiffany was saying, versus maybe before where I felt like I couldn't even negotiate because I really need this to work. And so that's obviously helped just in terms of me just saying like, you know what, I don't need to take anything unless it's the right fit and pays exactly what I think it should pay. Or maybe it pays a little less, but I'm open to say like, let's lower the number of assets or whatever it may be. Just finding different ways to make money has put me in a position where I can even advocate for myself in that way. And then I think the second thing is also just sort of like, there was just a level of like business finesse that I didn't have when I first started. So like, I didn't have like, I wasn't like negotiating, I wasn't upselling, I didn't have like a CRM. So I wasn't even like tracking who I should be talking to. I recently, like a few weeks ago, closed some work with Spotify, which is like on my list of people to work with last year. But that was like a 9-month deal of just like talking to them, trying to get them to like close. And it's like, I didn't have the structure to even do that when I first started. And so the more I get better as a creator and the more my following kind of grows, I'm also just trying to grow on like the business side of things, just like Tiffany said, the economy side of it as well, just so that I can learn to speak the language that some of these brands are speaking.
Y'all have said it all. Yeah. Sorry. Y'all have said it all. Like I have nothing to add. I just really liked Lloyd's point about being conscious of, I don't know, that hidden power dynamic of like, you're getting started, you need money, brands have money, like you can feel like you don't have much to leverage there. Like, okay, I really need that money for my rent, please. Like, how can I, feel like I have a say in how this partnership goes? But I think Lloyd hit it on the head, like diversifying your own revenue streams so that you're not completely dependent and you can have that even confidence to say, like, I don't know if this fits my needs, and just have that confidence to negotiate the way that you need to, is essential. And like that's what helped me get past certain milestones of partnerships and stuff, is that the brands that I really wanted to work with, number one, I asserted my value and like I was really confident in the value that I brought. So I made myself so good they can't ignore you. Like, if you want this result from this audience, you have to go through me. And then you're able to like have those conversations with brands or with partners where they're like, yeah, well, I don't think it's a good fit. And you're like, yeah, okay, it's not a good fit. But they'll come back because if they want that result, you have to go through me. So having that own confidence in yourself, and having that foundation to be able to say no, and be like, have the confidence, have the abundance mindset that you're so good or you have what they need, that if it's not now, it's when. It's not a no, it's like it's when. So the way that brands can help bridge that gap for us creators is like just being transparent in those conversations and saying like, we love you, it's not your content, it's not you, like we're not saying no because of anything personal, it's just budget this time, but we will come back around. And you having the wherewithal to ask those same questions and say like, is there like, I'm asking for transparent feedback, like can we hop on a call, like even if it's a no, can I get feedback on why, like just taking that initiative to better yourself, and having brands that are as invested in our success, or as invested in the success of the campaign, which is in turn our success, will make it go smoother, and they'll want to have those conversations as transparently as you do.
Can I add to that? One question that I had asked a brand once, when it was a budget thing, they're like, "Oh, our budgets." I said, "Let me ask you a question. For the talent that you're committing to this project, who's taking the majority of the budget, right? Like, who's like the flagship person that's taking the majority of their budget? And maybe they don't need to tell me a name or whatever, but like, tell me why, like, oh, their follower count is this. Oh, their engagement rate is this. Oh, their da 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 da. Whatever the reason is, right? Because I want to know what the rationale around being able to spend that money for that person is. And sometimes, because I've been at this for a long time, and I'm like, yo, let's keep it funky, let's keep it a buck. I want to hear them say it. I want to hear you say it. Like, especially because most of the talent that I have worked with are Black talent, and it's like you're not going to use us to just check your box. I want to know, And for next time, and or for, this is how we need to be treated on set. This is how, this is going to work. And I get to decide, I can play in your schedule, or I can say, you know what, that's not going to work for us. How about this? How about that? I start getting a little gangster on them when I've made a compromise. I'm like, if I make a compromise, you make a compromise. Like there is some agency that you can take up when you're in this space, and especially when you're trying to learn how to manage your business and qualify and quantify the dollar for this. I think it's really, really important. Jade, I'm gonna turn it back to
you. Thank you. No worries. So speaking on the topic, as we've been talking a lot about the financial side of the business, one of the conversations that I've been having with several creators lately is that it seems really quiet right now, especially from the brand's point of view. Knowing that in 2020, we were just hearing a lot from these brands about their, initiatives to combat anti-racism and, invest more in Black talent. And knowing that Black History Month specifically, which feels like it's been canceled by the brands, in my opinion, but so knowing that it's Black History Month, and this is a time where a lot of Black creators see a lot of income and are able to make a lot of profit. Do you feel that there has kind of been like a change of pace since 2020, or do you feel that there's been any impact on this kind of quietness on the Black creator economy?
Yeah, I feel like I've never felt like, I can't think of the last time I felt like brands have truly actually cared about Black History Month. I think often I see a lot of like activations, and even when I do see those, I always feel like it's like super last minute with like the least amount of possible like resources and planning possible. And so I even felt like this year, even more so with the fact that people are having like layoffs, and a lot of these layoffs are like, DI departments and so on and so forth. I even feel like even more so like now brands have an excuse. And I feel like this has been like really, really frustrating for me. And I think back to just sort of like figuring out, now that I know this is how brands feel, or now that I know just sort of like where I stand from a priority standpoint in terms of brands and their marketing strategy, what does that mean for me, is sort of like the problem I've been trying to solve for in my mind. But I definitely feel like it's felt like there isn't really a Black History Month celebration from a lot of the brands we traditionally see that from.
One of the things I will say is that I have been seeing people shout out Target for their consistency. So if there's anyone that just happens to be on the Target marketing team on this chat, thank you for your time and energy. But I do want to give some time and open up the space. If any of our panelists don't have anything else to add, I want to open up the floor to our attendees. Does anyone on the panel have anything else they want to share?
I'll just agree with you that it's been real quiet, real silent library vibes this Black History Month. Like, I made a post, I think a month or two ago. Actually, so I'm a co-founder of the Black Travel Alliance, which is a nonprofit that works to amplify Black creator voices in the travel industry, right? And so much of travel is extremely privileged and extremely white still. And so a lot of our original co-founders were posting in November saying, Black History Month is 2 months after the holidays. Like, you should be messaging people now, like emailing us now, like be proactive. And even with all of that on our side, on the creator side that I saw building up to Black History Month, I still have two brands in my DM saying like, hey, it's Black History Month. Did you know that? Like, can you do something this month? And the reaction I have to have is like, are you insane? Like, you're going to have quadruple the budget, or like, let me rest this month. There's no way. So I agree with Lloyd's feelings of like, how do I want to move accordingly in this? And so one thing that I did do this year was pitch like campaigns that I would want to have to brands. And I involved other creators, like other Black creators. And I was like, hey, you haven't reached out to us, so this is what we want to do, and we want you to facilitate it. And I don't know the intentions or like, which chair decided on it, but I mean, for us, we were just happy to be able to tell our stories and get paid to do it. So I don't know. I agree again with Lloyd, like authenticity wise, like I guess I'll never know, but we got to tell our stories and we're getting to tell our stories in the way that we want to tell them collectively as Black creators. So that's all I can really ever hope for, I guess, from the marketing side is like, at least pay me well to tell my damn story.
Thank you, Gabby. That's a bar, truly.
And Jay, can I just
Like,
add one last thought, please?
Absolutely, please.
So I think, gosh, I can't remember when it was, maybe today or yesterday, where I saw one of the posts you wrote for Sprout Social, and one of the brands that you featured in there that was doing a good job was Issa Rae's Hooray. And I just think that the more I thought about it, like we don't think about finding Black owned brands as sort of like a strategy to improve our work and be treated fairly. And as I think about some of like the brands I've worked with in like the podcast space, I just ironically, total coincidence, a lot of the companies that are like that have Black founders, they always pay me on time. I've never had to like negotiate myself down. It's just always like a pleasant experience. And so I've been thinking about that, just more about being more intentional about the types of companies I work with, working with more Black owned companies, just as like, a strategy moving forward.
I love that you mentioned that, Lloyd, because you're absolutely right. I've even seen it in my work on my side as a marketer and as a creator myself. I mean, anytime I work with brands, they may not be Black owned, but they may have full Black teams or be predominantly Black. The process is just so much more seamless. There's no hassle around like invoices. There's no hassle around negotiation. It just is what it is. So shout out to the Black people on the inside because they be knowing.
Amen. I think I've been allowed to speak. I'm Felicia Palmer. I the founder or co-founder of SOHH.com. We've been in business since 95. When the internet first kind of started, and we were tasked with evangelizing the Black community via hip hop about the power of the internet, and just being in this business for 26 years, and really just here to impart, some love and some wisdom and encouragement to you all about what you're doing as content creators, and what this really needs to look like moving forward, because it's really, I think my biggest message is really, owning your audience, ownership of your space. And I have a talk that I do about sharecropping the internet. And it's essentially, when people are building their entire business on their social media, on, their relationships with their fans through Instagram or through TikTok, etc. And they don't have a direct relationship with their community through email or other direct means. So I just really want to encourage you, because those are the things that are going to get you, the broader respect in the media industry, as opposed to just being looked upon as a creator. Essentially you're building, a community. And that community is not dependent upon whether Instagram is going to ghost you or cause your post to be unseen or change the algorithm. So when you have the power of a direct relationship with your community, you use social media to keep in communication with them. You use email and you build relationships with them offline. So then when you're coming into the room with these brands, and I work with them directly and indirectly over the years, their motivation is to be able to get you for as cheap as they can get you. It's really a race to the bottom when it comes down to this spending that they do. So of course they're not going to, like you mentioned earlier, they're not going to say, well, we've got really this budget. They're trying to squeeze you for as little as they can squeeze you for. So you should always come in with the posture of, I'm going to ask for more. Because if they're coming to you, believe you me, they've done a whole bunch of research on who you are. They're not going to present you in a plan with their brand managers and the brands themselves. They've already done tremendous amount of due diligence on you. They know they want you. So it's really just coming and saying, this is what I have to offer, and this is what it's going to cost you. And in general, you can get them with that posture, you can get them to raise the stakes, because most people won't do it. So where you're doing it, they can raise the stakes with you, whereas, they're still going to offer the next person down the line, the crumbs that they were offering them. So I just want to encourage you all, to develop your brands entirely, not just on social media, but building those communities entirely. I'm actually working our mandate since 2020, which was our 25th anniversary for SOHH. Our mandate was really to distill everything that we've learned in 26 years to the next generation. So we created an accelerator called the Guild Media and Journalism Accelerator. And we've been working in that for the last, I'd say, 14 months, and really empowering and equipping the next generation, not just with, producing content for the social media, but producing content as journalists, with journalistic writing, investigative reporting, event coverage, sending people out to interview celebrities and be present in the media space in an official capacity. And that's what we're doing. So I just really wanted to encourage you all, and I'll close my mic on that.
Thank you so much, Felicia. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your words of encouragement. I think we have Jasmine who popped in next.
Hi, friends. It's so good to be in this room again. Thank you so much, Jade, for having me and for hosting another amazing conversation. I love it here. I had a question for the panel. As an event producer, who has been in the entertainment industry for the past like 5 to 7 years and producing concerts, festivals, and so forth, and working with Black creatives. I got so frustrated in the corporate space. We don't have to recap, just like seeing, and wanting to create opportunities for creatives to do like what we've been talking about, pretty much just doing what we already been doing instead of waiting for permission or opportunities and so forth. So I kind of just wanted to pose a question as far as, and Gabby kind of spoke to it a little bit. Thank you so much, Gabby. As far as, you kind of taking the initiative and just going out to brands, like you haven't asked, but but we're asking now, to work with you. If you guys can kind of give a few more tips on how to reclaim that power or how to position myself as like the champion or not the champion, but like the representative of the creative community that I'm trying to bring with me in producing these campaigns and events and so forth on our own. Thank you so much.
I'll try and take a stab at that. I think this kind of applies to anyone as you're entering a space. It's almost like, going to a new city, and this is a industry that is, it's called creator economy, influencer marketing, but like at the core of what you think about it as, its old name was word of mouth, referral, and network marketing, all that stuff. And really at the heart of it, it's about relationships. And so it's not necessarily enough to kind of shout it from the rooftops, but being in the spaces and places where people are and building honest, earnest relationships so that, I see that you're an event producer. So like being in that space where, you have this sort of defined point of view. And when you're in these rooms and networking with folks, you're constantly affirming that and reaffirming that. And so, I used to hate this phrase when I was younger, which was trust the process. But I do believe that there is some wisdom in that phrase related to, what it means to take your time and build, relationships and really target people who are in the spaces that you're in, using models, like people who are doing what you want to do, people that have done what you want to do, and like leaning into that so that, you have this list of folks who have done what you want to do, are doing what you want to do, and like building echo chambers with those people so that when there are opportunities, you guys can recommend each other and that you're considered a part of that conversation. That's my best advice for, being, sort of hyper connected in this space in which you have a point of view in. And then when it comes to getting brand partnerships, when it comes to having brand partnership deals, then you could say, I'm a part of these networks. I'm a part of, it's seen as if you're a part of those networks, those communities. And so you are the person to go to for that.
I just wanted to that was awesome, Tiffany. Excuse me, thank you for that. That was really helpful information. I just wanted to uh, add something just a little bit like in the weeds tactical in terms of like the outreach email itself. Make sure the subject line is super clear as to what you are offering the person you are reaching out to. I cannot tell you how many like email pitches, especially now that I'm on the media side of things, how many email pitches I get that it's just like not clear what's going on. I don't necessarily have time to open and read every single email. So if that is something that's helpful to anyone, subject line really matters. Just make it clear what you're offering, and then present as many numbers as you can in the body of the email, like what you've accomplished so far, what you're hoping to accomplish with this brand. And yeah, I think that should hopefully be helpful.
I'd also like to really quickly add, just remember to always stay proactive and not reactive. I'm someone who kind of got in the field of entertainment writing just purely based off proactivity, thinking that I could do it, knowing that I had the skills to back it up. I just needed someone to give me the platform to show what I could do. And I think oftentimes we don't really have confidence in the fact that like we know on paper and we know theoretically like no, I bring this to the table, I bring that to the table, but we're not as proactive as we maybe should be to kind of let these brands know and let these people know like, hey, this is what I have to offer, this is what I'm good at. And like I think Gabby said it earlier, you won't get these results anywhere else but with me. And I think that's something that we have to just keep at the forefront. We can't, I think Tiffany mentioned this, and I think Christa mentioned this too. You can't just wait around, and I think Lloyd mentioned it too. We can't just wait around for people to offer us things. We have to be very on it. We have to be very ahead of the game. We have to be very, just again, proactive with the opportunities that we see that we want for ourselves. And I think as long as we remember that, and to Chris's point too, having numbers is very, very, very important. Just on the media side of things, trying to get pitches to other people that we may want to feature on our platform, and even vice versa. When people are pitching their celebrity clients or their talent to get featured on our platform, we have to see some sort of metrics. So that's also important. Like it's one thing to know what you bring to the table, but it's another thing to actually be able to articulate, like Tiffany said, and to prove it with numbers. So yeah.
They said it all. But like these are perfect answers. And I really kind of want to go back to what Tiffany said earlier in this conversation is that and Christa said this too, is that you are the solution. Like that's the mindset I have when I'm pitching brands. Number one, I'm coming in concise. Like they said, like the subject line is clear. I'm like, hey, this is who I am, but let me tell you about this thing. Like it's Black History Month. I know you want to do something. I also know, Linda, that you may have 2 kids and one of those kids has like a snotty nose right now. And like your life is chaotic. And like, let me tell you that I'm bringing a solution to you right now. This is my pitch. This is how I want to do it. Like, here's the high level. If you want to talk more about it, like, let's get on a call. But I just really make sure I do my research about that company extensively before I pitch. I make sure I'm trying to like pitch the right person, and I'm coming in just short and concise. And like, I feel like it's just through trial and error doing that enough that when you have a good idea. And it doesn't matter if it's really, I mean, it's great when it's warm. Even if it's a cold pitch, though, a good idea is a good idea. And like alignment is alignment. And if I've done the research the way I know I've done it, and my pitch is well thought out and has data driven, like everyone else here has said, they're not going to say no. Or even if they say no, they're like, they know it's good. I know they know it's good because I did all that work. And so even if it's not now, I know that they're going to be like, what's your name again? Let me write that down. Like, okay, I'm going to get back to you. And I know they will get back to me because I put in that work. So a lot of it's A/B testing and like trial and error and a lot of rejection, honestly. But it's that mindset for me that makes me keep pitching and makes me reach out to cold emails and all this stuff, is because I know I have a good idea and I have that confidence that my content is good and that, again, someone else may have the recipe, but the sauce won't taste the same. Like if you want it, you got to come to me. And I think, the person on the other end, even the brand, or they just feel that. So yeah, I would say everything everyone else has said, obviously, but also that confidence, like you got that juice, like you got that unique juice, Tropicana, like be confident in that.
Thank you guys so much for that. That was all so incredible. But I will say the takeaway was, Gabby, what did you just say? Somebody else might have the recipe, but it don't taste the
But
same.
the toast don't taste the
I gotta write.
same.
I gotta write it down.
The way I just wrote that down because
You
I
know
was
what I'm saying?
like,
Thank you guys
but
so much.
Yeah,
thank
that's a great question.
you. That was a bar. Thank you for that, Gabby. So we have time for one more question. Betty Jean Bowles, which I love your name, iconic.
Thank you so much. And it's so funny that Gabby mentioned juice because I actually work for a company called Creative Juice. I am the manager for social and influencer marketing over there. And so my question is kind of long-winded, but here we go. So we just launched a program that focuses on uplifting Black YouTube creators. Juice has committed 25,000 for this program. And I guess as a Black person, I know how I want to be marketed to, but is there ever a point when I have to detach from my Blackness in order to execute initiatives to execute initiatives built around pushing Black creators forward? Like, I think something I've struggled with, don't get me wrong, like I love this campaign and I'm so grateful to have a team behind me supporting this, but sometimes I get lost in the marketing where I'm like, okay, I know I am Betty Jean and I am a Black woman, but do I need to take a step back and kind of detach my personal identity from the marketing of a program like this in order to actually reach us? And by us, I mean Black people.
Because I feel like if that's your first instinct, I'm so curious about what about the marketing of this makes you uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And girl, you can hit me on the side. We don't have to take up your time, but I want to really lean into that with you because a sub brand that I have is called Conscious Hustler, and it's about the integration of who you are, and where you are and what you do. And I think if the question is, do I have to disassociate? The answer, Tiffany's opinion is the answer is no, because anytime you have to ask yourself, who am I being loyal to? And the answer isn't you, it's the wrong answer. And I get really passionate about that for us as a people in these spaces of marketing because we have been, in we have been in these spaces where we're like, yeah, that don't feel right. And I mean, I grew up in white suburbia my entire life, and I didn't always have the language around why does this feel so not it, and like, why is somebody asking me to speak Ebonics? Like, and I didn't have the language to be like, that was whack at that time. And I feel like that's something that you might be able to resonate with because there's something about this that you aren't clicking with. I like the idea around creators receiving grants, but if there's something about the marketing that's like, hey, that's my Blackie over there, get this money, like that ain't it. And I think you were potentially in a well-positioned place and space to say, hey, this ain't it. Like, if we're going to market this, then we need to do so with a little more care and consideration. And maybe we change the copy here. Maybe we change the look and flavor and the feel of this. And honestly, take up the space as someone who's going to have to execute this program. And that's it, because I will tell you this, whoever created that, especially if they weren't Black, probably didn't ask anyone else's opinion. And if you don't say something, or if you're not like, hey, can we like push this back a day or two so that we can like talk about this copy, talk about this creative, because I don't think it's going to hit the way you think it's going to hit. That's you taking up space and taking up agency. And this is why we need you in that seat.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And I think like, so actually, which is, I guess, plot twist. So I am actually the one that spearheaded this initiative. But it's like sometimes I feel like when I'm behind the screen and I'm like tweeting or commenting or really trying to push this program, it's like, is the perception going to be, okay, this is a white person behind the screen trying to push this Black program? Or should I just completely continue to sit in my Blackness and be proud of this and speak from a position as a Black woman pushing this program? And I think that's kind of where I get caught up in brand voice versus my voice. So that's really where the struggle is.
Yeah, if you don't hit me after this, girl, let's talk about it. I feel you. Let's talk about it.
Request.
Thank you so much, Beijing, for your question and your vulnerability. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And Tiffany, I love the way you respond to her question. So I'm happy to hear that y'all are going to hop offline. Please tag me into that Zoom meeting, whatever it looks like.
I want to be on that Zoom too. I have many thoughts.
Right. Let's make it a whole call. But we do have to wrap up today's episode. I really want to thank everyone for joining, especially our panelists, Tiffany, Shanelle, Lloyd, Christa, Gabby. You all were incredible as expected. So thank you so much. Additionally, the next episode of Creator Tea Talk is going to air in March. Gonna be honest, not sure about the date just yet because I will be traveling for my birthday. So TBD. But I do know that the topic is going to be about TikTok influencers. So be sure to follow the Creator Tea Talk hashtag for updates on that episode. And then finally, there will be a replay of this episode, which you can look out for on my YouTube channel. I'll be posting it by Monday. And again, my name is Jade Powell. I am your host, and this is Creator Tea Talk. Thank you guys for joining, and thank you guys for listening in. I hope you all have a great weekend.